Hello, everyone. Happy New Year. Welcome. My name is Ole Kagan, and I'm the Community Engagement Coordinator with LA County Library, and I welcome you to Microsoft Word for Beginners. Before we get going with today's event, I'm going to take care of some housekeeping, do the land acknowledgement, and tell you what we have coming up next with our Microsoft Office workshops. So, if you can hear me and see the slide on the screen, then you're good to go. However, if you're having trouble hearing me or seeing the slide, do let me know and I will do my best to assist. The best thing to do if you have a technical issue to start is just to exit the Zoom and come back in, and most of the time that will fix things. Now, if you'd like to listen to this presentation on the phone, you can do that by calling 1-669 900 6833 and using the access code 841 4178 5986 and the passcode 123123. Additionally, automated closed captioning is available on Zoom in case you'd like to read along with the presentation. To enable that, you would press the CC button in your Zoom window. Now, you may have noticed that the mics and videos for attendees has been disabled for this session. That's so that everyone can focus on the presentation. I do, however, welcome your questions and comments. Questions can go in the Q&A box, and the comments can go in the chat. I'd also like to note that this class is being recorded, and you'll receive a copy of the YouTube link in a follow-up email. So if you have the temptation to open up Microsoft Word and try to follow along, I would hesitate you against that because during the live presentation, I won't be able to stop and repeat things over. And if you miss a part, then that'll be challenging, especially if you're a beginner. So wait until you get the email with the YouTube link, and then you can stop the video at your leisure. You can rewind, you can slow it down or speed it up to make your learning process all the better. All right, now let us move on to our land acknowledgement. The County of Los Angeles recognizes that we occupy land originally and still inhabited and cared for by the Tongva, Tataviam, Serrano, Quiche, and Chumash peoples. We honor and pay respect to their elders and descendants past, present, and emerging as they continue their stewardship of these lands and waters. We acknowledge that settler colonization resulted in land seizure, disease, subjugation, slavery, relocation, broken promises, genocide, and multi-generational trauma. This acknowledgement demonstrates our responsibility and commitment to truth, healing, and reconciliation, and to elevating the stories, culture, and community of the original inhabitants of Los Angeles County. We are grateful to have the opportunity to live and work on these ancestral lands. We are dedicated to growing and sustaining relationships with Native peoples and local tribal governments, including, in no particular order, the Fernandino Tataviam Band of Mission Indians, the Gabrielino Tongva Indians of California Tribal Council, the Gabrielino Tongva San Gabriel Band of Mission Indians, the Gabrielino Band of Mission Indians Quiche Nation, Yohavitam of San Manuel Nation, San Fernando Band of Mission Indians, Coastal Band of Chumash Nation, Gabrielino Tongva Nation, Gabrielino Tongva Tribe. To learn more about the First Peoples of Los Angeles County, please visit the Los Angeles City County Native American Indian Commission website at lanic.lacounty.gov. I'll post that in the chat in case you'd like to see the website there. All right. And now, before we get going with today's program, I just also like to let you know what we have coming up for our Microsoft Office workshop series. So the next one is going to be on January 27th. That's a Tuesday at 3 o'clock. So usually they're held around Tuesday or Wednesday 11. This one is going to be at 3 o'clock on January 27th, and it's going to be advanced topics in Microsoft Word. Up until now, into the last year, we've been doing beginner and intermediate classes, and starting at the end of January, we're going to have an advanced course in Microsoft Word. Are you using Word to make flyers? Join us for a deep dive into layout and image handling in Microsoft Word as we attempt to replicate historical posters. If that is interesting to you and you'd like to sit along as we do that, I'm going to post a link to the chat. You can feel free to sign up. That is, of course, free, as are all library programs. And if you're interested in learning more about our events, whether it's in person or virtual, you can go to our website and hit the events button right in the middle of toward the top of the screen. And you'll get all of our events in person and virtual for all ages, kids, teens, adults, and older adults. And if you're interested in just virtual programs, you can also limit your search to just virtual to see Zoom events just like this one. And of course, they're all absolutely free. We had a question in the chat. Will this class be recorded and so we can access later? Absolutely. So that it's being recorded as I say this. And I'm going to post a link to the YouTube video, and I'll send that out to you via email, probably either later on today or tomorrow. So you'll have access to this video. So if you need to leave early or you miss something, don't worry, you'll be able to see the program again. All right. And now why don't we get into Microsoft Word for Beginners. I'll be teaching today's class, and I got to say, Microsoft Word is one of my favorite things to teach, primarily because it's one of those programs that's useful for so many things. Since this class is for beginners, let me get started by just telling you what Microsoft Word is. So Microsoft Word is a word processor and is part of Microsoft Office, which is a greater productivity suite. It has a variety of software that is used in, as you can guess, offices, but also for people's personal needs. A word processor is the on-screen reproduction of what you'd get with a typewriter. So you get a page, you can type letters, you can write resumes, you can write meeting agendas, and these are the three things we'll be covering today, but you can also do so much more. You can create reports. You can, as we'll do in the advanced course, create flyers, although it's not what word processors are necessarily designed for. It is possible to work with images and layout in Microsoft Word. You can do mail merge, send letters to a whole bunch of people. It is basically a way to have a blank page right there on your screen. And to that end, let me go ahead and bring up Microsoft Word, and we'll get right into today's class, where we will once again write a letter, build a resume, and type up a meeting agenda. And through these practical tasks, we will teach the elements of getting started with Microsoft Word. Before I get going, let me just ask in the chat, what is our experience with Microsoft Word? Are you all beginners out there? Do we get some intermediate folks looking to fill in their skills? And maybe what is the thing that you're most interested in learning today? I'm going to give you all a second to type in your answers, and I'll read some of them out as they come in. But as you do that, I'm also going to share my screen and bring up Microsoft Word. Of course, we have to have Microsoft Word in order to be able to write our letter. So what I am seeing in the chat here, minimize that, is I see I have very little experience. So a beginner, this class is for you. A high learner for many years ago, so restarting. So yeah, so getting back into Microsoft Word. Intermediate skills, looking to fill in the gaps. going to be learning to actually use the computer. Well, this is it. Microsoft Word is a great place to start once you become adept with the mouse and clicking and all the very basic stuff. Microsoft Word is a good thing to be. Flyers. Flyers is going to be our next program. So I'm not going to be doing flyers today, but at the end of the month, flyers. Creating documents. Yes, we'll be doing that. Beginner. Yeah, we've got a lot of beginners. This is great. New to Microsoft. So I think everybody will learn a little something. And of course, you can always put questions in, and we'll have time for questions at the end. I'll spend my time here answering your questions and addressing your needs. Let's go ahead and open Microsoft Word and write us a letter. So I'm going to just turn off my video so as not to be distracting because I like to wave my hands around. And we'll get going with the program. I'm going to open up Microsoft Word by going to the Start menu. I'm going to type in Word, and it pops up right here. This is the icon for Microsoft Word. And it's going to open up. So as you can see, it has opened up here. And in order to start writing a letter, we're going to click blank document right at the top here. Some people are afraid of the blank page. Be not afraid. We will have things to say. All right. So as you can see, here is our main screen. The most important thing to learn at the beginning of Microsoft Word is this blinking line right here. This is called a cursor. A cursor will show where you are able to type. I am able to type here. And as you can see, as I type, the cursor moves along. If I press enter to create a line break, the cursor moves along with me. Now I am typing here. So if I wanted to put my cursor back, I can click up above between here and type in any of these places. Cursor is very important to follow along. If you're not sure where your cursor is, look around, and that's where you can start typing. Also, an important part of Microsoft Word to note is this top part of the screen here, this long line of little buttons. This is called a ribbon. A ribbon is where the majority of the features of Microsoft Word live. So when you need to make your text bold, you look at this B right over here on the left side, italics right over here, and the U is for underlines. You can change the font size, the font face, and there's a lot of options. Somebody asked in the chat if they're having a little trouble seeing on the screen. And actually, if you're having trouble seeing what's on the screen, Zoom allows you to zoom in. There should be a little plus, I think, towards the bottom right-hand side of your screen or left-hand side of the screen. There's a little plus and minus. If you hit that plus, you'll be able to zoom the screen in and perhaps see what I'm sharing a little bit better. I'm going to make the fonts bigger as I type, so it's not going to be, this small. But for now, this is just the basics. All right, let me erase that. All right, so you can see the ribbon here. So a few of the basic text editing features are here. You can see up here, there are different words: insert, draw, design, layout. These are called tabs, and we'll occasionally be moving to different tabs. Although since this is a beginner course, we're not going to be exploring very widely. We're going to be focusing on the essentials so that after you are finished with this course, hopefully you'll be able to feel at least a little bit comfortable heading over to the library or opening up Microsoft Word on your computer and typing a letter. All right. Now that we've covered the cursor and the ribbon, let us move on to our letter. We're going to be typing a business letter today. But what we're going to do first to do that is we're going to create a little letterhead at the very top. So we need to align this cursor to the center. And we can do that easily by going to the paragraph section up above here. And these lines and these buttons are the alignment area. So it will automatically center the cursor if we click right over here. We can also right align. As you can see, the cursor move to the right. Left align, the cursor move to the left, which is the default. And then justify. Justify is it splits up all the text to fit the screen. It would look like if you were reading a book. So what we're going to do is we're going to center our cursor and we're going to type in our business name. And that's going to be, I'm going to type it in all caps, Library Inc. Now, once we've done that, we need to put our name and address and all our information in our business letter. In order to switch over to the next line, we're going to press, oh, I don't want that. There we go. Switch over to the next line. I'm going to press enter. So as you can see, we jumped over to the next line and we need to bring our cursor back to the left side. And so we're going to hit align left up in the paragraph section of the ribbon. Now that we're there, we need to type our information. So we're going to type the date. It is January. Oh, I have it on caps lock. January 6th. And then Word makes it easy for you. As you can see, it made a little pop-up January 6th. It knows that I'm trying to type the date, so I'm going to press enter and it'll insert the date. Next, we're going to press enter for a line break. The cursor moves to the next line over. We're going to type an address, 1234 Absidarian Lane, Townville, California, 91010. I don't know if that is actually the zip code of Townville. It doesn't matter. And then we can type in well, you can type my name as well. I'll put my name in here, Oleg Kagan. Although this letter is actually going to be from a different person. This is my letter. It's going to be from Sally Cutter. There we go. As you can see, there's a bunch of spaces here between these lines because Word automatically inserts a space between what it thinks is a paragraph. So it thinks every line is a separate paragraph. So you can see this little space right here. I'm going to remove that because I actually don't like it. I like to be able to control how much space is between lines. So I'm going to highlight all my text by clicking and dragging my mouse down. And all my text is highlighted. And then I'm going to go to the line spacing area, which is also in paragraph. You can see these little arrows, line and paragraph spacing. I'm going to click there, and I'm going to click remove space after paragraph because I want to be the one to put in the line breaks where I want them. We want to be in control. But if you would like to leave the spaces after the paragraphs or before the paragraphs, you can absolutely do that. The idea is that you use Microsoft Word as you need. So I'm going to put an extra line break after Library Inc. And then I'm going to put another line break after the date. So I can either put the cursor after and press enter, or if I want to, I can back this up and put the cursor at the front of the line here and also press enter. Same thing. Next, we've got the name, the address. Let's move on to the salutation. So as you can see, I pressed enter twice, got a couple of line breaks. And now I'm going to put in the salutation. If I was writing this letter to a friend, I would put dear so-and-so, comma. But since this is a business letter, I'm going to put to whom it may concern and put a colon. That's my salutation. And let's move on to the body of the letter. And thankfully, I have typed it up so you don't have to watch me typing an entire letter. But to know where I'm going to put the body, I'm going to press enter, create a little space here. And I have the letter typed up right here. I'm going to copy it. I'm I'm going to highlight the entire letter. I'm going to go to Edit, Copy. It's a nice thing about computers. You don't have to retype everything that you want to move from place to place. And then I'm going to go to right up here on the top left-hand side of the ribbon. Under Clipboard, I'm going to do Paste. I can also press Control V on the keyboard, but so that you can see, I'm going to hit Paste. And there's my letter. It appeared. All right. So sometimes if you're writing a personal letter, you might want to create spaces before each paragraph or indents. In order to create an indent, you would push the tab button, and tab creates an indent like this. It automatically indents by 1/2 inch. You can adjust however you want large you want the indents to be, but 1/2 inch is standard. So we could have indents in our letter at the beginning of every paragraph. So I just went through, put the cursor at the beginning of every paragraph, and pressed the tab button one time, and automatically tabbed over. Now, I don't want tabs in a business letter. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to undo. And to undo, on my keyboard, I'm going to press Control Z, and I'm going to undo what I just did. Control Z, or I can just do it manually since there's only 3 paragraphs. Click the cursor at the beginning of the line and press the backspace button. And I'm back to the beginning with the indents. Now, we spoke about line spacing earlier. I automatically put my single spaces between these lines. Now, if I want to, I can also have double spacing between the lines, and I can do that either through the line spacing option here by creating multiple spaces after each paragraph in the spacing, or we can decide how much we want the indentation to be here. But that's something that is more for intermediate users. Most people don't really need to do too much with line spacing options. The ones that are offered by default with Microsoft Word are very good. They're the standard in writing letters. So if I want to manually create 2 spaces between each paragraph, I can. I kind of like how one looks though. All right, click the cursor back here between paragraphs 2 and 3, and I'm going to hit the backspace, and that's right. Ooh, I see something that perhaps we need to fix. In our first line, we have the word catalog misspelled, and Word is telling us that that's the case with this squiggly red line underneath. This is a convenient feature called spell check. I'm going to click on the word, and Word gives me suggestions how to spell catalog. If I feel like this is the right spelling, or this is some kind of idiosyncratic spelling that only I use, I can tell Word, back off. I'm going to use this. I'm going to use this spelling. Or if this is a word that I made up that I want to use in all my documents, I can click Add to Dictionary here. But instead, I'm going to fix it. I'm going to press Catalog, and it's spelled correctly. Additionally, Word noticed that I have an extra A here, and I can click on that. See, here it's not a spell check, it's more like a grammar check, which usually would have a blue line underneath it. But in this case, it recognizes it as a spell check, says this word is repeated, and gives me the option to delete the repeated word. I'm going to do that. There we go. Now, so we did spell check and grammar check. I can actually show you how grammar check works. But I mean, essentially works the same way. It's just a different color line. I have all correct grammar here, apparently. So I'm going to try to add a grammar error. Let's see if I put the wrong your, will it recognize that is a grammar error? No. And that's why we still have to check our grammar. You can't just depend on spell check and grammar check to fix all of our errors. Now, as you can see up here, Abecedarian is an actual word, but this is a street name I made up. So I'm going to just have word ignore it so that I'm not bothered by that red line there. Okay. Now, finally, we're very nearly done with our letter. We see at the very bottom here, Sincerely Sally Cutter, our sign off. I'm going to put a few more spaces here. Now, sometimes you want a space for your signature. So I'm going to click here in front of Sally, and I'm going to press enter a few more times. You can sign, if you print this letter out, you can sign a name. Now we want this over to the side. In business letters, it's not always the case, but I want it over to the side. So how am I going to do that? I could align left, or sorry, align right up at the very top. So I highlighted this entire piece of text, these, I think, six lines. And I'm going to go ahead and right justify it or right align it. But I don't like how this looks. I actually want it to be aligned left, just moved over to this area here. There's a few ways I can do that. One way is I can go up to the ruler here and just move this entire bit over to, let's say, 4 inches into the page, like that. That's about right. That's where I want it to be. But if I didn't want to do it that way, I can also do it by individual line using the tabs. We're going to explore this a little bit more with the resume. But I just want to show you at the very beginning here. So we're building a foundation. So if I press tab, as you can see, it moves over 1/2 inch. You can see up here in the ruler, it indicates where it is. If I tab this over, I can do the same kind of thing. And then I can tab these other lines over in the same way. This gives me a little bit more control over where I want to put each individual line if I want to tab them over. So I'm pressing the tab button on the keyboard, which is on the top left-hand side of the keyboard. Over and over, and same idea. Move it over here. It's still left justified, but it's moved over towards around the middle of the page here. And that is our letter. If we wanted to save our letter and come back to it later, we can do that by going to File. You can, if it's a new document, you can either hit Save or Save As. If you want to create a copy of a document, you have one already, you hit Save As, and it'll save it as a different file name. But we can hit either, so we'll hit Save As. We're going to enter a file name. So I want to select where I want to put it. I'll put it in my Downloads folder. I'm going to call it Library Inc. The name is already there. I'm going to hit Save. And now we can see up here, it says Library Inc. .docx. That's the file format of Microsoft Word. .docx. And it says Save to this PC. And if I want to print this file, I go to File and Print. I don't have a printer connected to my computer now, so I won't be able to formally do it. But if I did have a printer, we would go to File, Print, and we can see here, we can select how many copies of the document we would like. We can select the different printer. I used to have a Brother printer connected to my computer. It's offline currently, but we can select how we want to print it. We can either print all the pages or just the odd pages or just page 1. This page, of course, this letter only has 1 page. But if we wanted to print page just 1 and 3, we can press the number 1 here, press a comma, and press number 3. And that would just print page 1 and 3. And if we wanted to print page just ranges, we can do page 1 through 3, and then comma, page 6 through 9, as we need. If our printer has the capability of printing multiple sides, to save paper, we can click where it says print one-sided and decide how we want to print. And of course, there are other options, different paper sizes, different orientation if our letter was landscape orientation. So we got vertical and horizontal orientations here. We can select that. We can print more than 1 page per sheet if we wanted to just have our, if we had a 3-page letter all at a glance, we could do that as well and change the margins, of course. All right, that is how to type a letter. Let me know if in the chat, are you with me? Is this what you came for? And once I get some affirmatives or the opposite, I'll move on to writing a resume. I see, this is good. Can I change the font? Oh, thank you. You guys are asking questions. I love questions. Okay, can I change the font? Yes, you can. To change the font, you just select, you can either start at the beginning with a different font, or if you want to change the font of this letter, I can select the entire thing by either highlighting the whole thing with my mouse, or I can, on the keyboard, I can press Control, hold Control and press A, and that selects the whole thing as well. And I go over to the font at the top of the ribbon under in the font area and press the little down caret, and I can choose any of these fonts. Microsoft Word has a lot of fonts. Algerian, now hard to read. Some of these are nice. I like this one. A little small. Aptos. Let me make it bigger. If we want to make the font bigger, we'll do that more in the resume and the agenda. But if I want to make it bigger, I can either press this A with the little up arrow or down arrow, or I can tell it exactly what size I want. So that's if I want it to be 14. 14 is pretty standard. 12 is the kind of average text size in Microsoft Word and other word processors, but you can change it as you need it. And if you want to see things more on the screen, you can always, of course, zoom in. On the bottom right-hand side, right now it's set at 100, but I can zoom in more. 120, 130, 140, and then zoom back out. And if you want to zoom all the way out, you can see what this letter looks like on the page if you're concerned about layout and formatting. This is at 70%. All right, let's see if there's any other questions. When printer on both sides, short edge or long edge? That's a great question. You know that I always get mixed up about short edge and long edge. I think long edge, but honestly, I don't do that enough. I always just test it. I print one page one way, and if it's the way I want, then I print the rest of the document that way, or I just switch it to the other side. At the end, will you also provide us with the next intermediate class will be held or located on the schedule? So we don't have an intermediate class scheduled. However, we do have a video of our previous intermediate class that followed this one, and I'll put that in the follow-up email. So if you want to move on to the next intermediate class, you can watch it at your leisure on our YouTube channel. All right. Very good. Let me just take a quick look into the Q&A, and then we'll move on to the resume. All right. No questions currently. Let's move on to writing a resume. So some of you may or may not need a resume at the moment, but writing a resume allows me to demonstrate to you some key features of Microsoft Word that you can use by creating other documents. So once again, I'm going to go ahead and exit this document. It's already saved. I'm going to save it again. It asks if we made some changes to it. So it says, do you want to save these changes? And I'll save them. Why not? Let's open up Microsoft Word again. I actually have it on my desktop. Why not double click here? You can open up to write a resume. We'll open Word. So we have the option of either doing blank document, or Microsoft Office has templates that we can use. A template is a pre-designed document where you can just delete what's written in there, but it's already designed and formatted for you. And there are quite a lot of resume templates. It saves you time if you're not interested in formatting or designing your resume. So if I type in to look for templates, I think, see if I have them handy here. So let me see if I can type in resume here, if that'll come up. See if it looks for my document. So what we're going to do is we're going to do on the right-hand side here, we're going to do more templates. And now we can either do blank document, or we can do resumes and cover letters. So here it's already selected. I can just type in resumes. I pressed enter. Some versions of Microsoft Word will have this, some won't. As you can see, there's a whole bunch of resume templates. Now, in my opinion, a lot of these are very busy, really over-designed. For most of our resumes, we want to keep them simple so the hiring managers who are reading tons of resumes won't have any trouble deciphering yours. Fancy fonts, weird formats, unnecessary. So we're going to keep it simple. We're going to go to a blank document. We had a question in the chat. What is the name of the YouTube channel? It is LA County Library. Actually, it'll be, don't worry about it now. I'll put a link to it in the follow-up email so you will not miss it. But it's youtube.com/LA County Library. All right. So we're going to start writing a resume. And we've got our blank page here. And the first thing we want to do with our resume is we want to add a ruler so that we can format it properly. I think the ruler is already here, but if it wasn't up here, then in order to add a ruler, we can go to the View tab. And I want to show you this anyway. And so we've got a whole bunch of different options here. You can view this document in different ways. If you're just reading it, read mode is convenient because it removes some of the extraneous stuff around the sides so that you can focus on the document. Web layout lets you see how it would look as a web page. There's an outline view, a draft view. Outline view is convenient if you have many different types of headings and you just want to see the headings. If it's you writing a long report, very useful. What we're doing here is we're going to toggle the ruler so we can turn it off. We want it on. Why? Because we want to see how far along various parts of a resume are on the page. We can also add grid lines for fun. We're not going to do that. Navigation pane. So if you have a lot of headings, a navigation pane allows you to easily move through your document. What I would recommend as beginning learners especially is to go around these different tabs and just look and see what's here. It's a little bit overwhelming. I mean, there's really a lot of stuff, particularly in something like references, review. There's so many options. But just go in and look, and honestly, just press buttons. You're not going to break it. You can always turn off your document and come in again. Come into Microsoft Word with curiosity. That's my recommendation for all computer learning. Okay, back to the resume. We've got a ruler here. Got that enabled. I'll make sure our spacing is uniform. Now we're going to insert a header so that our name and other information is at the top of every page. To do that, we're going to, unsurprisingly, go to Insert. So we're going to insert a header. We're going to scooch our mouse over to the middle of the page where it says header. The drop down caret, click that. And we have different options of headers that we want, that we could use. We can create our own, or we can use blank 3-column, which is what we want. So a header appears on every page, and it's kind of in the middle of the end of the page and where your defined margin is. So the margin here is about an inch. And so here, this is about the middle of that. This header is convenient. We want to make this a little bigger. So we're going to go back to home. So I highlighted everything as you saw. I'm going to make it a little bigger. I want to make my header to be maybe like 15. How about that? Very visible for whoever looks at the resume. What we're going to put at the top is our name. Actually, let's put our name first. So I'm going to, where it says type here, I'm going to click there. I'm going to put my name. My name is Oleg Kagan. In the second one, I'm going to put my email address, okagan@library.lacounty.gov. If you have questions about Microsoft Word or anything else, feel free to email me. And then my phone number. That's the top of my resume. I want to make my name bold so that it's very visible. What I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight it. And then I'm going to go over to the font up in the ribbon, and I'm going to hit bold. Click on that, and there. Wow. I want to make it a little bit even I want to stand out a little bit more, so I'm going to make the font just a tiny bit bigger on my name. So now it's font 18. It's my resume. All right, so this is the header. Now, if I want to, I'm done working on the header. I'm going to double click into the regular part of the document, into the middle of here, and my cursor has appeared here. Let's create our headers. So the first thing we're going to put in our document, in our resume, is we're going to put education. So I'm going to type in the word education, but this is not big enough. It does not stand out properly. I need it to be a little bit bigger so that my section headings are the proper size. I'm going to press enter, move this down a little bit. I'm going to highlight education. And as I just showed you, we can do it bold. We can make the font a little bigger. Let's do 16. We'll do 18. Then we'll make our name bigger. If you make a mistake in your header, you can always double click back into it. So I want to make, since I made my header, my education header 16, I'm going to make this one a little bigger. I want my name to be the biggest. It's the most important thing on the page. Whose resume is this? It's mine. I'm going to make it 22. And then double click back into education. Okay. So that's our first header, education. I'm going to then press enter. Now, I mentioned earlier that Word automatically creates spacing after the paragraphs. I don't like that. I'm going to remove that. That's the default. So I highlighted everything. I'm going to go to line spacing, remove space after, no, excuse me, remove space after paragraph. That way, if I press enter now, there's just a tiny little space here, not the bigger one that there's before. So I don't want the body of my education section to be font 18 and bold. So I'm going to change it back to, let's do 14. 14 is a slightly bigger font size than most resumes, but just for ease of use for us, just between us, we're going to make it 14. And we're going to remove the bold and education. So first we're going to put our university. I went to the Invented University of Peregrine Falcon University. Peregrine falcon is the fastest animal in the world. Its dive is extremely fast. Peregrine Falcon University. I'm going to press enter. I'm going to pretend like I got a BS in ornithology, which is the study of birds. Unsurprisingly, from Peregrine Falcon University. I'm going to press enter. I'm going to type in, I got my MLS, my Master's of Library and Information Science. I guess also from Peregrine Falcon University. Focus was on archival studies. My actual focus in library school is public libraries. So I'm here. Okay, now we're going to make this also, let's make it italicized. Yeah, our university will be in italics. What we want here now is we want to put when we graduated, not always a requirement for resumes, but I want to put it towards the right-hand side of the page. Now, if I click align right here, it's going to move the entire row to be aligned right. So what I want to do is I want to tab over like I showed you before with our sign off earlier. I'm going to tab, 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 tab. Let's tab to 5 inches into the page. And I'm going to put graduate, let's say 2009. All right. And then I want to line up my other graduation date. So I'm going to tab, 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 tab over and put 2014. And that's our education section. Now let's move on to our next section. I'll press enter twice, make a line break. Our next section is going to be the employment section. I'm not going to have an extensive employment section because you don't need to spend your time watching me type. I'm going to do it very fast. I'm going to make this bold. I'm going to make it 16. Actually, it was 16? I think it was 18. Yeah, our heading was 18. Do this again, 18. Press enter, remove the bold, make the font back to 14. I worked as a librarian and then LA County Library. I'm going to tab over once again to number 5. I'm going to put a range. I started working with the library in 2010. 2026, it's been 16 years almost. In March, it'll be 16 years. All right. And so we got my date here. I'm going to press enter. As you can see, when I pressed enter, it switched my tiny dash to, look, I think this is an N dash. And I can undo the dash, make it, now this is a hyphen. I actually want it to be a dash. I'm going to redo dash. Actually, no, I think I do want it to be a hyphen. Anyway, it doesn't matter. If we want it to be an N dash, we can leave the N dash, or we can make it a hyphen. We have a question in the chat. When you say tab, do you mean that you are pressing enter to move the cursor? Actually, I'm pressing the tab button. The tab button is located on the left-hand side of your keyboard towards the top. All right, now we're gonna create a bulleted list of my responsibilities. So I can either start the bulleted list from the beginning by pressing the bullets, and we can either press this, it'll do our default little circles, or we can choose what kind of bullets we want. I want it to be a checklist because I want the employer to think I'm a go-getter, and I check off my to-do list. Work on the reference desk, press enter, it automatically inserts another bullet. Purchased books. And let's say, I don't know, taught Microsoft Word. Ooh, look at that. See, I made a mistake and it automatically caught that. I'm going to right click on that. It knows the word Microsoft and fix that for me. We'll keep it simple. There was a question in the chat, the difference between the hyphen and the dash and how to do that. So the difference between a hyphen and an dash is a smaller, is a dash like this is an N dash, an M dash is a bigger dash, and you can also do that. A hyphen is the smallest. So a hyphen is usually used like with a phone number or when you have a word like multi-level. You use a hyphen, use a little tiny one. Whereas if you're writing a sentence and you need a longer dash, so I like words that start with Q. So I put two dashes, it would be a longer one. So let's say QWERTY, which is the type of keyboard layout. And I space and automatically creates an N dash for me. So it's like just a longer dash. There is a longer dash than this, but we'll stick with the N dashes. So that's the difference between a hyphen and a dash. Let's remove that. Okay. So we have our bulleted list. We can also create a bulleted list so we can remove this if we want to remove the list. So if I just typed in all these lines like this, and then we realize that we want to create a bulleted list, we're going to highlight all of these. And Word knows that these are each individual lines. So when we highlight it and press the bullet list option up here, this time let's make little diamonds. Word will automatically turn that into a list. Okay, so we've got our education and employment. Let's move. So I pressed enter and it created this. It was like, what do you want your next bullet item to be? But I don't want any more bullet items. So I'm going to press enter again and Word will be like, okay, cool. Let's move to the beginning of the line again. So let's create the next line. We want skills and certifications. I'm going to make the heading once again 18 and a bold. Press enter. Remove the bold. Bring it back to font size 14. And I'm going to put skilled in Microsoft Office, which is my skill that I am transferring to you. So on your resume, after this class and perhaps the intermediate and advanced classes, you will be able to put skilled in Microsoft Word. So we're going to do it like that, skilled in Microsoft Word. And then, there's many other items you can put on your resume, but this is the essentials of what a resume will have. If I wanted to undo something, I could once again I can press Control Z on my keyboard, or I don't know if a right click will give me undo. No, I'll push Control Z on my keyboard. So if I want to remove this line, so I push Control Z, I type skilled in Microsoft Word, I can remove that entire line by pushing Control Z, holding Control on the keyboard and pressing Z, undo in Microsoft Word. You also undo and redo right here. So it can do undo typing, bam, redo typing. So just a quick way if you want to remove, if you were like, oh, I've went down the wrong path. Let me just remove this line. And then you decide later, oh, no, actually, I wanted that line again. You can just undo and redo. And Word keeps a track of a certain amount of items that you've done that you're able to undo and redo. I think we actually see which ones they are. Yeah. So Word, these are all the actions that I've taken. So I can undo all these actions. I can undo, well, it kept track of everything. I didn't even realize. I'm learning something new today too. Undo 100. We've taken 117 actions on this document. Well done, Word, keeping track of that. So to get there, once again, I went all the way to the top of the page, and where this little squiggly line is, this is the undo button, and this little caret, I click that, and here are all of the different things that I've done, and I can undo all of them. Okay. Somebody asked in the chat, when doing a resume, can you use different color paper? You sure can. So you can change the background color in Microsoft Word. I believe that's in design. I don't usually do that, but you can. So page color, as you can see. You can change the page color in Word. It won't, even your printer may not be able to do that. For using a different color paper, you would just put the different color paper in your printer. I don't recommend doing resumes in different colors just from a workforce development perspective. It's unnecessary. White paper is just fine. And for the most part, if you're sending it online, it's not helpful to have different color paper. It could be a little distracting. If you're going to make any different, maybe like, I don't know, beige or something, but really just white. White is the best. All right. Let me see. Do we need to do anything else? I think this will serve us for a basic outline of how to do a resume. And of course, you all have further qualifications. And if you're a Peregrine Falcon alumni, let me know. I want to save it. Once again, go to File, Save, and we can save it wherever we want it to go. Mine defaults to my OneDrive or my cloud-based folder. If I wanted to put it in Documents, put in Documents or select where I want it to go. I put it in Downloads again. Type in Resume 01. I put Resume 01 on purpose. The reason I did that, and this is a tip if you're doing resumes right now, have your resumes either dated or numbered, because you'll often create different versions of your resume, and you want it to be able to easily sort, easily know which one is which. So for me, I just put 01, but if I was doing this in real life, I might put like resume and in parentheses 1/6/2026 or the company that I'm applying for, so I know later when I look at it, what's this resume for? Okay, we're done with this section. Let me take a quick look at our Q&A before moving on to our meeting agenda. We're getting towards the back end of our class, and be aware I will be taking more questions at the end. So if you have your questions and you're just waiting and loading them up, feel free to put them in the Q&A. Feel free to put them in the chat. I'll look at both places and I will take questions at the end. But for now, I'll do a few quick ones here. Okay. When is it advisable to use bullets? Use bullets when you're making a list. The nice thing about bullets is that they just make your document more readable. In a resume, bulleted lists are normal. And you want bulleted lists because you want somebody to be able to read your resume at a glance. And so I always use bulleted lists in resumes and in documents where you're listing out a lot of different items. A bulleted list is easier to read. As you can see, if I do it like this, there's no difference between librarian, like no formatting, no typographic style difference between librarian and the responsibilities of the job. It's harder to understand. I have to really look closely. Go, oh, okay, I see. These are the tasks. But if I put the bullet points, it's immediately possible to see that this is something different. You can also have a numbered list. So it's right next to the bulleted list. You have numbers. And that for resumes, not so much what you do, but if you need, like, if you're doing like a checklist or some kind of a list that you need in sequential order where you want the numbers to be there, then you can make it a numbered list. Word actually allows you to automatically create a checklist. I can actually check. I can't actually check on these, but I think Word does let you insert if you wanted to create a to-do list. I think Word does have um, checkboxes. That's somewhere else. That's a different class. All right, let's switch this back to our funky check marks. Okay. Uh, in this document, one does not have to use colon after education, employment in the headings. That's optional. I feel like the typography or the kind of style is distinctive enough that we know that this is a section heading, and what comes after it is the education. What comes after this one is employment. So through our spacing and through our larger text, our larger font size and bold, we know that this is section heading. But if you feel like putting a colon after each of these, that's fine. The next question, please explain the difference between save and save as. I would love to explain that difference because it's an interesting and important distinction. All right. So when you create a new document, there's no difference. Save and save as does the same thing. However, in this situation, I'm going to show you this. This is actually the perfect example. So thank you for this question. You gave it to me just at the right time. Okay, so we have this document. It's resume 01. I've saved it as resume 01. But let's say I'm applying for a different job. Maybe I'm applying to work at Subway as a sandwich artist. I used to work as a sandwich artist at Subway. And then, so I might change up my resume a little bit. So instead of employment as a librarian, I worked at uh, Jersey Mike's as a sandwich maker. I don't know what the sandwich makers are called at Jersey Mike's. I know that at Subway they're called sandwich artists, or they used to be when I worked there. Let's take sandwich maker. I'm not going to change any of this. I'm just going to show you. So I changed just one thing because this resume is for something else. So now I'm going to go to File. I'm going to do Save As. And so I have one document called Resume 01. And this, now I want to save this version of the document as resume sandwiches. And I'm going to hit save. And now when I go into my downloads folder, I have two different files, resume 01 and resume sandwiches, because I saved. So I had resume 1, I saved it as resume sandwich, it's like creating a copy essentially. So save as will create a copy for you of the document. And then there's now two separate files. We can do whatever we want with them. I hope that's a clear explanation of the difference between save and save as. If we have this document here and we just want to save this document, resume sandwiches, then we would go to File, Save, and it would just save in the same file. It just save what we did. Word these days, at least if you have in the cloud, it saves automatically. But I would recommend if you don't have autosave turned on, then hit the little disk and it'll save it for you. Let me know if that was a clear explanation. If not, then I can delve into it a little bit more. Okay, I had a few more questions, and then we'll move on to creating a meeting agenda, which is a fairly short section. Okay, will you ever have a Google Documents class? Indeed, we already have, and I can put it in the chat. It's been a little while since I've done a Google Docs class, but yeah, I had couple of years ago, I had an extensive Google Docs class where I went through the entire Google Docs window. The class was about 2 hours long. So if you have that kind of time and interest in Google Docs, you can watch that. Or since it's on YouTube, you can skip ahead or make me talk very fast. All right, when is it necessary to indent paragraphs? That's up to you. So traditionally, paragraphs are indented when you're writing letters that are not business letters or business memos. But if you're writing normal personal letters, indentations are just standard. If you're writing a book, indentations are indenting paragraphs is standard. The reason you indent paragraphs is it makes it a little bit easier to read, especially if there's not if you don't create an extra line break between the paragraphs, so the reader knows it's a new paragraph. It's a new paragraph starting. Can I use bullet for a phone list? Yeah. Oh, do you mean like if you created a phone number like here, like if you can use a little dot here, you can. You'd have to insert character. So it wouldn't really be a bullet exactly. You just insert symbol and you can insert little lines here. So I'm in the ribbon here and I went to insert and all the way on the left-hand side, we see symbols. I can insert, there's different kinds of symbols. There's more than this, but this is right here. Yeah, insert symbol. Yeah, I can do it like that. If I wanted to have a list of phone numbers, you can also create a bulleted list of phone numbers. Microsoft Word it doesn't care what you have on each line. It'll format it as a list for you. Okay, we'll do one more question. I think I have one more Q&A, and then we'll move on. Will you please review from Save As back to Resume and to download to find the document, please? Yeah, you know what? I'm going to save that one for the end of the class. I'll definitely do that at the end of the class. Okay. All right, let me save these questions for the end. Let's move forward to creating a meeting agenda, which will build on what we've already covered primarily, but maybe a few extra things here. So now let's create a new document. And trust me, I've seen your questions in the Q&A, and I'll cover those at the end. All right, so I'm going to do File, New. So I want to open up a new document. I'm going to do another blank document. I'm going to choose font 16 to start. Boom, font 16. Now we're going to type in meeting name. The meeting name is Museum Goers Meeting. It's a meeting for the Museum Goers Club. I'm going to press enter. I'm going to put the date. The meeting is right now. We're missing it because we're doing this class. 26, and then we're going to put in the time, or you know what? Let's make the meeting at 1 o'clock, 1 p.m. So we'll be able to make it if we want to. Press the time, the date, and then if the meeting was taking place at a certain place, we could put the address. This meeting is going to be on Zoom, just like we are now. I'm going to remove the line spacing, of course. This is a personal preference of mine to remove the additional spacing in Microsoft Word. So I think Word actually defaults to slightly larger than 1. I'm going to put 1. And then I'm going to put a link to the Zoom meeting. And the link to the Zoom meeting is, I'm just going to type it in here, http://zoom.com. And I'm just going to put a random number. So the Zoom is random. I'm going to press enter, and it actually automatically made the link for me when I pressed enter because Word recognized it saw HTTPS and it recognizes as a link. But if it didn't recognize it as a link, we can actually create a link in Microsoft Word. I'm going to show you how to do it. In order to make some text into a link, whether it's a website address or any text into a link, we're going to highlight what we want to make into a link. I'm going to copy this URL or this web address because that's what I want my link to be. And then I'm going to go to Insert. And right in the middle, it says Link. I'm going to click on that. And as you can see, because Word recognized this as the web address, it's already in here. And on top here, it's text to display. So if I wanted the text to be Zoom link, and the web address is here, I hit OK. And now this is Zoom link. And if I hover over it, it shows me where the link is going to, or the web address. So that's our web link. I'm going to make the name of the meeting bold so that it stands out. Okay, so we've made a link. Now we're going to expand on our bulleted list by making a nested list. That's our main learning for this section. So we've got the information for our meeting here. We're going to do meeting agenda. Make that bold. Remove space after paragraph. I'm going to remove space everywhere. Okay, I think it's already removed. Okay, meeting agenda. Now we're going to start with, make it a little smaller. This is the number 14. Make the font 14. Make a different font. I don't recommend having a lot of fonts in documents, but just for fun, since we're all here, I'm going to choose a different font. So many options. I recommend not using very bold fonts because those are hard to read, or very light fonts because they're also hard to read. Some standard fonts are Times New Roman, or Arial, or Aptos, which is the current display font. Let's do Times New Roman. That was used to be the former. It was the former default font for Microsoft Word when I started using Microsoft Word. After that, it was Calibri. Where is Times New Roman? Am I missing it? Should be somewhere around here. Oh, there it is. Okay. We can start our bulleted list right away. Let's make it into a numbered list. Or actually, we got this one right here. Multi-level list. Click that. Just a standard one. That's fine. So the first thing we're going to do is icebreaker question. What's your favorite museum and why? Enter. The second item is going to be membership update. And then I'm going to put a colon here. And now I'm going to press enter. And it'll automatically move down to number 3. But I want it to be nested because I want to talk about a few things within the membership update. So I'm going to press the tab button. Tab is a recurring theme in our class today. Tab is one of my favorite buttons. I'm going to press tab. And as you can see, when I tabbed over, it made this into A. So residence, opinion. I'm going to press enter and it'll automatically stay at that level. New member welcome. And maybe under new member welcome, I want to do something a little extra. So I'm going to press enter again, and I'm going to press tab again. And under new member welcome, I'm going to put the new members' names, George, Philippa, and Savak. Those are our new members. Now, let's say we're done with this section. I'm going to press enter, and it's going to give me number Roman numeral 4. And that's not useful for me because I want to go back to new members welcome. I want to go back to the membership update. So I'm going to go up here to the ribbon, into the paragraph section, and decrease indent. When I do that, it's going to go back to C. So if we do want to have any other conversation around membership update, why not? Let's say new member recruitment. Okay, so then we're going to press back, and one more item is going to be meeting format, in person or Zoom. And that's done. So now that that'll be our meeting. It'll be a short one today. We're going to press enter to go back to number 4, but I'm done with my list. So I'm going to press enter again, and it'll remove the list and the next meeting time. There we go. We can put the next meeting time. It'll be in a month, 2/6/26. Okay. And we can put multiple meeting times and dates, but that's what we're going to have for now. All right. Well, that is our meeting agenda. And primarily here, I wanted to show you some of the things we've talked about before, like creating bold formatting, creating a nested list, and creating a link. We had a question in the chat. How can we send a link to our email, such as a link from Zoom chat room? That's a good question, but it's a little bit outside of the scope of this class. If you wanted to send just off the top, in the simplest possible way that I can answer, if you wanted to send a link to somebody via email, then you would get the web address. So if, let's say the web address was HTTPS or just regular HTTP / a link.com. That's a link. I would highlight that. I would copy, and then I would paste that link in your email. Okay. I'm not sure if that answered the question, but if I understood it correctly, the answer. If not, then just let me know in the chat and I'll talk a little more about it. Okay. That's it for the main portion of our class today. I have time. If you have questions, I'm here for you and happy to answer your questions. I know there's currently some in the chat and some in the Q&A, and let's get started with some of these questions. If you have questions that you think of right now, feel free to put them. I'll stick around. I'll answer them. Okay. Will you please review from Save As back to Resume and to Download to Find document, please? I sure will. Okay. So let's get back to this. So we can do them with Museum Goers Meeting as well. So right now, this document is not saved. As you can see, the default name that Microsoft Word gave it was document number 2. We're going to save it. Go to File, Save. We need to give it a name. So I'm saving my documents in, I go to Browse. I'm saving my documents in Downloads. I can save them anywhere. My computer actually defaults to Documents, but I like saving them in Downloads. So if I want to save it in Downloads, Museum Goers Meeting, let's put a date. I actually like to put the year first because it sorts better. File sort better that way. 01/06. Okay. So docx, which is the format for Microsoft Word. I'm going to press save. You can also save it in different formats, but most people can open a .x file. Okay, now this is saved as Museum Goers Meeting. Now let's say we want to create the next meeting agenda. Let's go to File, Save As. So if we change this file, for instance, like we changed, I don't know, the meeting is at 2:00, right? It's the same file. We wanted to stick with the 1/6. We just press the little disk or go to File, Save. And then this file is saved. But if we want to create a whole new file based on this document, we go to Save As, and let's say if we want it to be for next month, 2/6. We'll press Enter, and now we can create a whole new document, 2/6, and create a whole new meeting agenda. Following one is going to be on 3/7. I don't know what day that is. 3/7. And now we're in Museum Goers Meeting, 2/6. I want to save this one. And if I go to my Downloads folder, as you can see, I have 1/6 and 2/6 because I saved 1/6 as 2/6, and so on and so forth. How do you repeat the header on the top of additional pages? Good question. So let's make some space here. Actually, we don't need to. We're going to go to Insert. We're going to go to Header. And we can do a very simple header. So here we have type here on the right-hand side. What if I want a page number? I'm going to move that type here over to the right-hand side. And instead of type here where I can put any kind of text, well, let's start this. I'm going to type page, and then we have our header and footer. So a new tab appeared here called header and footer, and it gives me the option to put page numbers. Let's put a page number there. Top of page. Oh, 0. Current position. Fine. Okay. So now this is the header. Pardon me. This is the header of page 1. I'm going to double click back into the document. And now if we go to page 2, a header will automatically appear on page 2. So what I've done is I just pressed enter and made line breaks all through until Word automatically created a second page. And as you can see, page number 2, page number 1. We can do the same thing with footers, actually. If we insert a footer, or if we double click in this area here, we create a footer, and we can do the same thing. Page numbers are most often the bottom, of course. So we can do the same thing on the bottom. We can make it even, if we want a page in the middle, page number, bottom of page, right in the center. So in our footer, it created the page number. And that page will appear on page 1. That page number will appear on page 1, and page 2 headers will appear on every page. Would you consider changing cursor color to make it easier to follow, perhaps yellow? That's a great suggestion. I'm going to have to do that for the next course. I didn't do that for this one, but yes, that's a good idea because, yeah, this cursor is rather small, especially in a Zoom window. I appreciate that suggestion. Thank you. Okay. Can you redo how to do a Zoom link? Yes. Okay, so let me remove this. So we have this text. I'm going to right click and do remove hyperlink. So now it says Zoom link. It's just regular text. If I want to create a link, if I want to make this link to a Zoom or anything, if I want to create a link to any web page, I would just want to do, in fact, to make it less confusing, let's just do link. I'm going to highlight the whole thing. I'm going to go to insert, and I'm going to go to link right in the center of the page. I'm going to click it, and it gives me the option. So there's two parts of every link. Text to display, that's the text that we all see, and then the actual web address. So that usually is HTTP or HTTPS :/webpage.com. I'm going to press OK. And now it's created this link. If I click it, it'll go to web page, or in this situation, if I press Control click, it'll go to webpage.com. And you can see when I hover over it that it goes to webpage.com. We can also just do HTTPS :/webpage.com. And Word, if we press enter, Word will automatically create the link for us because it recognizes as a web page, as it's just like a plain naked web page. And so it'll do that for us. How do you do the Roman numerals and indent? I see. So you were talking about this part here. So this is a multi-level list. So if we go to the home in the ribbon and move towards the middle where the paragraph area is, it's this one right here, multi-level list. You can actually do it also with a numbered list. You can select Roman numerals. But a multi-level list is the easiest if you know you're going to have a list with many different nested items. And you can choose different types of multi-level lists as well, depending on what style you prefer. I always forget where I put my doc. Should I just use desktop? You could use desktop. The challenge with using desktop is that it often gets messy if you save a lot of documents on there. I've known people who have their entire desktop filled with little icons. Not preferred if you want to continue saving there, because it ends up just being hard to find things there because you have to look through all your files. I recommend just saving them into the documents. If you go to File, most Windows computers will have an automatic document folder. So if I go to Browse here, and yeah, Documents, just save it into Documents. That's the easy, because then you'll know where are my documents? They're in the Documents folder. All right, let's see. How can we send link to, okay, so I don't see any other questions. And if you have one last one, I'll be here to take it. But um, thank you very much for being here. I appreciate you being here, being curious to learn, asking me your wonderful questions. Here is a question for you. Would you please fill out our post-event survey? I just posted a link in the chat. The survey is very short, but I very much appreciate your feedback. What was good about this class? How can we improve our classes? And whether this class was helpful for you in your learning of Microsoft Word. Oh, did I have any extra questions here? Ah, no questions here. All right. Once again, Happy New Year. Thank you for being here, and we'll see you next time.